Hello and welcome to Retire Smart Austin. I'm Sarah Peterson here with Phil Capriati, CEO and founder of Senior Tax Advisors and Donato Wealth Management, and a licensed fiduciary and Master Elite IRA advisor. You are just a man, a jack of all trades.
Pretty much master of all as well, for the most part. Nice to be
All
with you.
financial trades. Nice to see you again.
Yep, it's always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure, and we never get it all in. So we'll just jump right into it, shall we?
Yes.
Okay, let's talk about the perfect tax efficient retirement plan. Is there such a thing?
Wow,
I
that's a
hesitate to use
great
that word
question.
perfect.
The perfect tax efficient retirement plan. Okay, well, first of all, let's start with making it a written plan. Many folks accumulate wealth and they accumulate it in a number of different accounts: 401ks, IRAs, investment portfolios, hopefully Roth IRA or Roth 401k. But many folks do not structure a written, coherent, concise plan and then update it yearly. It's extremely important. So, in order for it to be a tax efficient retirement income plan, it has to be in writing, it has to be updated yearly, and it has to coordinate with all of the new and upcoming tax changes.
I think it's important to reiterate that this is not the same thing as just a pile of statements, which it seems like that's what most people have. They think they have a plan. Well, here's my statements. That's not the same thing as what we're talking about.
Most of the time, in fact, over nine out of 10, maybe 19 out of 20 folks who come in and callers that come in from the show, about a third of them will have a financial advisor, and unfortunately, they do not come in with a written plan. They may have an attorney that established a trust for them, or they may have a written will, but not really a written plan. The written plan is normally word of mouth. Don't worry about it. You'll have plenty of money to get you through retirement. The plan never consists of talking about tax efficiency. It never consists of talking about inflation,
Hmm.
and it never is really, very rarely adjusted yearly. Many investment advisors that I see really do half the job, and this is just my own professional opinion.
Hmm. Well, I think a lot of people, they're not even sure where to begin when it comes to this process. It can be daunting for a lot of people, right? To take their financial cards, lay them on the table, and a lot of people just shove them in a drawer and don't want to deal.
Most folks are just that way. In fact, many folks, I mean, I have some clients that look at their portfolios movement every single day, sometimes 4 or 5 times a day. I have other folks that don't look at their portfolio more than once or twice a year. Okay. But as far as the retirement income plan, once you get within the retirement red zone, within the last 5 years to retirement, or you're actually in retirement, if your current advisor, if you do not have a current advisor, hasn't sat down with you or does not sit down with you at least, at the very least, once a year to update that written financial retirement income plan, you're really missing the boat. And your probability of failing in retirement are greatly increased.
And we've talked about this before on other shows, but the only thing constant in life is change, right? And 2020 just rocked us all, and there's been a lot of change. So for those people out there who haven't heard from their advisor since 2019, now would be the time to sort of perk up and listen because that's a red flag.
Always get a second opinion, especially like on our show. Like for the last 10 years, 10 plus years, in 2010, we started reaching out through workshops, providing complimentary consultations. I call it pro bono retirement income planning. Actually, doing the heavy lifting for folks who don't have a written retirement plan or have a written retirement plan or think they have a written retirement plan, but it's never really been gone through with a fine tooth comb. It's never really been explained to them. They have no idea what type of volatility is in their portfolio. They know that their portfolio dropped significantly during February and March of the pandemic 2020, but they don't really have a written plan. Many times we hear a lot of lip service, at least we do. When a client comes into our office, whether they're a potential client, we want to structure a written financial plan. And I'm not talking about a 1 or 2 page plan. This plan should consider your Social Security. It should consider your retirement income, your RMDs. It should be considered whether you need a Roth conversion plan as well. It should be comprehensive. And we'll get into this more deeply,
Yeah.
but it should be a written plan and it should be something you can put your hands on and something that you understand. So it's a written plan that you understand.
Well, speaking of understanding, we get so many great questions from the viewers, and we never have time to address them until later. So, if you don't mind, I'll get to some of these.
Let's
but
jump right
they're
in the
great
water.
questions because I think they're things that everybody can relate to. Okay, the first one is from David from Horseshoe Bay, and he asks, "Does it matter when you claim Social Security?"
Wow, that's kind of that's a great question, by the way, David. It absolutely does. Now, it's kind of funny that you asked that question because many folks who come into our office, because I ask a lot of questions. In order to understand what you're feeling, what you want to accomplish, I need to know. I need to know what it is that you want to accomplish. How do we do that? We do that by asking a lot of questions. Okay, any competent licensed fiduciary is going to do that, have a list of questions to help you get to your goals. We can't help you get to your goals if we don't know what your goals are, okay? So Social Security, it starts there, David. Over the last 40, 50 years, for those of us who've been working that long, I started working, paying into Social Security when I was 16. We won't say how many decades that was, but to use your imagination.
One or two.
We'll say,
at the
we'll
most.
say, we'll say four-ish, all right? The fact of the matter is we've paid into this, not retirement plan. We're going to call it a social income plan. That's what Social Security was. And it was designed originally to be a tax-free retirement plan or supplement your retirement for those who were not conscientious or have the discipline enough to save on their own. Okay, so think about it, David. You've paid into this plan 30, 40, 50 years. It's a lot of years to pay into something. Don't you think it makes sense to spend an hour or two with a licensed professional to help you determine which strategy best fits in to your retirement income plan and works in a tax efficient manner? Well, the answer, of course, is yes. But many advisors, unfortunately, today, they don't want to do the heavy lifting. The heavy lifting meaning, let's look at all of the different strategies. There are dozens and dozens of strategies. And if you're married, there are even more. That's where we start with a comprehensive retirement income plan. We want to start with reviewing your work record. If you have a spouse, your spouse's work record. We want to look at what your claiming amounts for Social Security will be at every year, 62, straight on through 70, for both you and if you're married, your spouse. And now, which one? Help me understand which strategy best fits into my retirement income plan. We've been doing this now. We've done thousands of Social Security and retirement income plans through the court, and these are all pro bono. It's extremely important to give back to the community, and it's extremely important to help people understand you've paid into this system for decades. There are so many folks now that never even paid into Social Security that are collecting it. It's extremely important, especially for those of you who have paid in 30, 40, 50 years. Spend an hour or two with us. Call the 800 number. Let us help you figure out, based on your plans and your goals, what's the best Social Security claiming strategy for you and your family.
And for those who are just joining us, in case they didn't hear before or don't know, it's only for the first 10 callers, and the phone lines do get extremely busy. So please have patience. We will get to you. That number is 888-818-6557. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we've got tons more viewer questions that Phil's going to answer, I'm sure, very entertainingly. See you soon.
Thank you, Sarah.
How confident are you in your current financial plan? Do you know with certainty how the recent market volatility will affect your future hopes and dreams? How much are you paying in taxes? And how much are you losing to unnecessary high fees? You didn't work to save this money so that you could spend your time worried in retirement. Now is the time to take charge of your finances so you can feel confident about your future. Call in during the next 30 minutes of today's show only to set up an absolutely complimentary, no obligation, full-blown financial review that will result in your own customized written plan. This is a $999 value that we're giving away complimentary to the first 10 people who respond. We'll start with a full-blown analysis of what you already have by running a report to untangle how much you are currently paying in fees, how you're allocated for risk, and what it's costing to work with your current advisor. Next, we'll identify your goals. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? Where do you want to go, and who do you hope to go there with? Is your current financial plan set up to get you there without mishap? Let's design a roadmap to create a financial plan you can follow with confidence. Get the piece that so many people are missing from their retirement. Find out how having a written plan can make a difference to your retirement dreams. Call now to schedule your complimentary, no-obligation, full-blown financial review today.
Hello and welcome back to Retire Smart Austin. I'm Sarah Peterson here with Phil Capriati, and we are answering the viewer questions, which they have so many great questions about that perfect road to retirement and how to get there. We're on our way.
It's a beautiful thing.
It is a beautiful thing. All right, we're just going to jump right in. So we have a question from Stephanie from Austin, and she asked, should I really be concerned about inflation during retirement?
Oh, gosh.
Oh, Stephanie.
These are good,
Yes.
good questions. Stephanie, I'm glad you asked the question. And for the benefit of our viewing audience, yes, it's extremely important. So let me explain what inflation really is. Inflation is simply a hidden tax that is basically perpetrated upon us through our lifetimes, and especially in retirement. What do I mean, hidden tax? Well, the more money that's printed, the more money you need in order to buy the same goods and services. So for instance, give you an example, Stephanie, and you're probably not old enough to remember this, but back in the 70s, the mid 70s, late 70s, gasoline was about 30 cents a gallon. I remember when it jumped up to 39 cents a gallon and we thought the world and the sky was falling. Then we had the oil embargo and a few other things. But what basically had happened was as fuel goes up, as oil goes up, everything else goes up around it. Now, it's funny because when the government calculates the consumer price index and inflation, they exclude fuel, okay? But that's another issue because it eventually trickles down. In retirement, it's extremely important that we're cognizant of the inflation rate. This is one of the important factors of adjusting the retirement income plan yearly. We just had inflation numbers of 5.4%. And I'm talking with colleagues that are like, I don't really believe that number, 5.4%. And I'm thinking, why? And they said, well, there's no way it went up 5.4% in the last quarter. And I said, why? Aren't you going to the food store? Didn't you realize that fuel has jumped almost $1 a gallon? Who do you think takes your groceries to the store? Trucks, right? What do they use? They use fuel. All right, we're not totally green yet. And when that eventually comes, inflation will still be a factor. The point that I'm making is each and every year we need to look at inflation. Now, traditionally, inflation, when we structure a comprehensive retirement income plan that's tax efficient, we want to factor in an inflation rate. I normally recommend 3% a year. But there, during the late 70s, inflation jumped up to double digits. When you see runaway inflation because of out-of-control pricing or money supply increasing significantly, this can have a serious effect on your retirement income plan. So if you are not working with an advisor, come in for a consultation. And if you're interviewing, and you should be interviewing multiple advisors, not just the first one that you meet, make sure that the retirement income plan that they construct and update yearly includes inflation. Because some years we may see inflation of 1%. Some years we may see inflation of 5%.
There's no crystal ball here, but as you're speaking, I'm hearing a lot of the things that sound very familiar from the last, let's call it 18 months.
For those of us, when we look at our children, they may have no concept of inflation, especially our grandchildren. However, for those of us who are nearing retirement, we remember the 70s, we remember the 60s, the 80s, the 90s. We remember how inflation has an effect on our retirement income. And understand, in retirement, you're no longer working a steady job for the most part. You're now dependent on your retirement savings. And those retirement savings, you don't want to chase returns with excessive risk, but those retirement savings need to adjust for inflation. Great question, Stephanie. I love it. Come on in. Call the 800 number, that 888-818-6557. We include inflation in our retirement income plans, and in order for it to be accurate, it must be part of the plan.
Absolutely. Well, the next question, I'm afraid we may not ever have enough time to finish this question. Not in any of the shows.
I'm sorry if I take too much time in
No,
answering these questions.
I don't think any of the shows are long enough to cover this topic, but we'll try. Okay, Luke from Pflugerville asks, what are your feelings about taxes increasing over the next 5 to 10 years? I see you adjusting your color. It's getting a little hot in here.
Luke, okay, all right. So, Luke, you know, it's kind of funny, and that's a great question, all right, because nowadays, over the last year since the current administration took over, prior to that, I actually had a few folks that told me they don't need to worry about Roth conversions. The $2 million that they have in their 401k will be fine. They're not worried about taxes going up on it. They'll be in a lower tax bracket because that was the promise that was made by prior politicians. Okay. And they're not concerned with taxes going up. In fact, they think taxes are going down. Now, folks, for those of you who are viewing, that's about 1 out of every 100 people who come into my office. That's about what the numbers are, maybe 2. For those of us that take a look at the increasing debt, rapidly approaching 30 trillion, the Comptroller General and many other authorities are warning us, once we hit the 30 to 35 trillion mark, in order to pay for Medicare, Social Security, Medicaid, welfare, government programs, national defense, just to mention a few, we're going to have to increase taxes. Well, who pays taxes, Luke? Do tax recipients pay taxes or do taxpayers pay taxes? So the answer, of course, I don't mean to sound sarcastic in any way, shape, or form. It's taxpayers. So if you have a government retirement account, pre-tax account, I realize the promise that was made was when we retired, we'll be in a lower tax bracket, but no one warned us about a 30, 40 trillion debt. I mean, and with this debt, it's going to have to be repaid. There's no way we'll default on the debt. And yes, taxes will certainly go up. It's a simple math equation and not very difficult to figure out or calculate.
Well, and we've talked about this before, but there's a huge difference between tax preparation and tax planning. And I think tax planning is something that a lot of people just want to avoid because it can become so stressful.
No one wants to talk about taxes. We talk to a lot of folks about taxes when we do their taxes and also when we execute the Roth conversion practice, because we do that with all of our clients. If you're working with an advisor that's not talking with you about taxes and how to reduce them in retirement, not taking a look and helping you create balance in your retirement income plan, I don't want too much money in my government taxable retirement account, knowing that any administration at any time in the future can raise taxes to any level they see fit and use the debt as an excuse. It's extremely important to get a head start on this now. Taxes in retirement, it's probably between inflation and taxes and market volatility. They would be the 3 primary variables I would concern myself the most with in possibly making sure that my retirement funds, what I've saved for the last 40, 50 years, will go to the distance and last my family and I through. And we like to plan to age 100.
Well, let's tell the viewers that are maybe just tuning in about your offer because it's only for the first 10 people, which is, the phone lines get really busy.
Yeah, so it's a complimentary interview. So when you call 888-818-6557, and please call, do not be discouraged. Don't be apprehensive. We do this work pro bono. I mentioned that earlier in the program. It's extremely important that you get your written retirement income plan, tax efficient. We'll look at questions. We're going to ask you a brief questionnaire. We're going to go through a brief questionnaire and ask you some brief questions. It's strictly confidential. Make the appointment. My office administrator, Christy, will call you tomorrow morning, or one of our other administrators will verify the appointment. We'll send you a secure link, answer a few questions, and this will help us prepare for your first initial consultation. Remember, as always, all of our complimentary consultations, there's no obligation, and they're not free. They cost us a lot, but they're complimentary to you. And yes, we hope to work with you, but no obligation to do so.
I absolutely love it. Okay, 888-818-6557. We're going to take a quick commercial break. And when we come back, we'll get to some more of your fabulous questions.
If you are getting ready to approach retirement, and we're talking about within the next 5 to 10 years, it's extremely important that you understand exactly how many benefits you are entitled to from Social Security. In order to structure a comprehensive, tax-efficient retirement income plan, we must first start with Social Security. After all, you've paid into it for the last 30, 40, 50 years. Let's focus on getting the most out of it. In addition to that, when you come into the office, after we're finished with your Social Security maximization report, complimentary with no obligation, we will structure a tax-efficient retirement income plan. We'll talk about your goal retirement income after taxes. We'll look at IRA and RMD distributions, and we'll even take a look at past year's tax returns. The important thing in retirement is to make sure it's not how much you make, but it's how much you get to keep. Call today, and don't forget to tune in to Retire Smart Austin, Sundays from 9 to 9:30. Thank you.
Do you know what that sound is? It's me traveling the world, Europe to Asia. I'm vacationing and living the retirement of my dreams because I just met with a local trusted advisor. They helped me turn my nest egg into a golden egg.
Hello, folks. It's Phil Capriotti from Retire Smart Austin. We help folks turn their nest egg into a tax-efficient retirement income plan. Call today. It's complimentary.
Hello and welcome back to Retire Smart Austin. I'm Sarah Peterson here with Phil Capriotti, and we're going through some of these amazing viewer questions. They really do have a lot of great questions that I think all of us can relate to.
I absolutely love the questions. In fact, I can't see doing a show without answering questions because, you know, we could talk about literally dozens and dozens of different topics when we talk about retiring smart. Okay, really. But viewer questions, these are concerns that viewers have, and even folks, they're not just viewers, but folks who come into our office, questions we hear over and over and over again. So if they're on the minds of viewers, they're on the minds of literally thousands of other people.
Absolutely. Well, we have another really good one I want to get to. This is Jay from Burnett. He says, I'm still working. I have over $1 million in my 401k. What other retirement savings options are available to me?
Okay, Jay from Burnett. Okay, I'm familiar with Burnett. We have a little place right down the street in Marble Falls, so Burnett's right up the street. Originally, when I moved to Texas about 20-some years ago, I called it Burnett too because that's the way it's spelled. Yeah, but
Clearly I need to get around
for folks
more.
who live there, they get a little irritated. Yeah, it's Burnett, right?
Oh, sorry,
It's like, and I had one guy
I will
say, you know,
never
like
make
burn
that
it to the
mistake
ground,
again.
like burn it to the ground,
Okay.
Philip. I'm like, oh, okay, all right, Don, no
That's a little
problem.
scary, but okay.
Anyway, okay. And what was his viewer's name?
He's Jay
Okay, Jay.
from Burnett.
Great question.
Right.
Great question. It's extremely important to create balance in your retirement income plan. Many folks who come into our office, unfortunately, have way too much of their retirement nest egg in their tax-deferred account. We've been brainwashed, folks, and I hate to say that, and I don't say that haphazardly. We truly did believe when we retired we'd be in a lower tax bracket. Now, one of the things that you might want to look into, two different vessels. If you're still working and you have, if you have in excess of $1 million in your 401k, I want you to contact your administrator and I want you to ask if they offer the 401k Roth option. Not a traditional 401k, not a pre-tax 401k. We want an after-tax 401k. Now, Jay, if you believe, in order to have a tax-efficient retirement income plan, it's extremely important that you have a Roth. It has to be part of it. And if you have an advisor that hasn't talked to you about it, fire them. I mean, and at least get a second or third opinion. It's extremely important because we want to be able to take from multiple accounts to reach our goal retirement income and to keep it tax efficiently based on whatever that tax code is in subsequent years. So advice to you, there are life insurance policies that provide contributions. Many folks will save into these 7702 plans. This is something we could talk about when you come in for your complimentary consultation. I'm a firm believer big, very, very big on the Roth 401k. You're allowed to put up to $26,000 a year away if you're 50 years or older. Many companies will offer also match the 401k, which you can convert over to a Roth IRA. Now, the current tax laws don't allow us to convert a 401k to a Roth 401k, but we can take money from our 401k if we're 59 and a half years of age and older, and the plan allows it, transfer it to a self-managed IRA, and then convert it to a Roth IRA. This is part of our planning process. So when you call in for your complimentary consultation, Jay, let them know when you call in, and call in right now. Let them know that you asked the question about balance or what other types of retirement vehicles you should have in your retirement plan. And the Roth 401k, Roth IRA, Roth Simple IRA, Roth SEP IRA, all of the Roths named after Senator Bill Roth, a Democrat from 20-some years ago. It was golden. It was also something that all of our lawmakers agreed on, all but I believe 7 or 8 of them.
Wow.
Yeah, and back in the day. So the Roth, I'm a firm believer. And for those of you who are unclear what a Roth is, a Roth retirement account allows you to pay the tax on the seed. You pay the tax once on the contribution. And under the current tax laws, that contribution will now grow tax-free for literally years and decades to come. It'll grow tax-free for you, if you're married, for your spouse, and up to 10 years of your children and grandchildren's lifetime as well. Unfortunately, they slipped in last year.
Phil, time is flying by and we only have
Sorry.
1 minute left. I don't want to interrupt you, but you
Roth.
always are
Do the
so...
Roth, okay.
This is always what happens. But there's always another show. Lots more questions. Listen, I want people to know that only the first 10 callers will get this very, very invaluable special plan, right?
Yeah, call 888-818-6557. Tell them you watched the show today. You want to schedule your complimentary retirement income plan, Social Security counseling session. Don't forget to tell them you want a portfolio risk analysis review. We provide this for all of the callers who view our show or listen to us on the radio as well. So call 888-818-6557. That number again is 888-818-6557. Don't be shy. Call today.
And we
Come into
always
the
run out of
office.
time. There's always the next
Thanks,
time.
Sarah.
Thank you so much for being with us. And Phil, it's always a pleasure.
Yep.